Hey there, it's Jessie here. A big fat warm welcome to this little tiny channel. Thank you very much for being here. A big warm welcome if you're coming back. Hello. And if you're completely new and you clicked on my face, congratulations. You found this little tiny corner of the internet and your life will never be the same. All right, guys, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. How is your heart? I will check in with mine. Well, I'm in the thick of it. I'm in the thick of a friendship rupturing, and it's under the same roof that I sleep in, so it's not the easiest. It's not the first time I've been in a friendship rupture, and what I've realized, my part in this, is I create codependent friendships. I am guilty of that, and I don't know how to get out of codependent friendships without them rupturing. This is the second time it's happening. And, it's like warning signs, isn't it? We get warning signs. You get little hits of like, And those moments is when we have the chance to make a decision or a change in some way that might not cause so much damage. But what did I do when I had that little, what did I do? It's probably not that bad. Be warned. If there is anything going on in your life where you think, be warned. Because that just gets bigger and bigger until life goes, you're really not going to do anything about this. Despite all the little hints that I've given you. Nothing? Okay. Rupture. Learn the hard way. So, I still create codependent friendships, and I've been thinking a lot about codependency, my take on it, okay? Not just speaking purely from my own experience, is that it's a really beautiful thing. I think what happens is I meet people and we bond over shared insecurities or shared trauma. I think that's quite unconscious, somewhat conscious, to be honest. But I don't know, it's almost like when we love somebody despite their insecurities and all the behaviors that come with those insecurities. And we hold space for it and we love and we give compassion because we needed compassion, And I think when we meet somebody who offers us that and we can offer it for them, it's really nice. But the danger is that you become reliant on each other's energy for that. And this is what I see in both my friendships that are now breaking down. Well, one already has, and we're rebuilding it in a new, more healthier dynamic where we're each responsible for our own emotions, and that person doesn't become a depository for our bad insecurities, and then we're reliant on them to hold it and boost our self-esteem. Because the moment you've got that reliance, that expectation that the other person will always be this for you, at some point, sooner or later, they will not. And then shit hits the bloody fan. And then, so core wound hits core wound, and then the other person is the enemy. And it's really interesting, like detaching or individuating from codependent relationships. Because when that person isn't showing up in the same capacity as they always have, it feels very painful, and it actually feels like a betrayal. And I say this from being somebody who's been on both sides of this equation. So right now in my friendship, my friend feels betrayed by me because I didn't extend compassion, which I always have. I always have, until, lo and behold, a moment comes where it triggers my wound and I have to defend myself, and I'm not in a position to give unlimited compassion to everyone around me because I'm self-preserving. And my strategy as a more avoidant type, which is to be more self-sufficient and I'll depend on myself, that's what avoidance, that was their strategy, is not to go out. It's like something I learned about avoidant strategy, and this is really helpful for when I was with a man who was avoidant, and I was getting hurt by this hot, cold temperature he was giving. Sometimes he'd be really, really warm and loving and compassionate and really loving. And then other times it would be completely cold. And I would honestly question, like, where's he gone? Where is he? And I learned something that's what's happening in the avoidance brain. So this capacity of the brain to shut off empathy for others was a necessary evolutionary faculty so when we're out hunting with the lads or with the ladies, depending on your tribe, we would need to be in some kind of survival mode to survive that situation. So if your friend starts getting mauled by a lion, it doesn't serve you in that moment for the brain to have empathy for that situation, to empathize with how your friend is feeling, or even the emotional effect it has on you, grief, sadness, all of that, not relevant in that moment. You need to get away from the lion. So the brain shuts off extending empathy outwards. Hey, correct me if I'm wrong on this. This is my understanding of it. It just really helped me. Now, when I'd be sat across the table with a partner who one moment would be really loving and the next would be really cold, it was quite difficult not to take that personally. And I was taking it personally because I was holding a belief, a false belief, albeit a belief, that I'm unworthy of love or I'm unlovable. And, this belief was formed at a moment where I was in survival as a baby or a small child, whatever. And so the belief formed, but then also I needed to protect myself from this painful belief. And I think I've, been motivated unconsciously most of my life to try and prove myself that I am worthy of love. And lo and behold, I keep saying that today, lo and behold, you think you've got it, lo and behold, you haven't. It's a constant flux, isn't it, friends? My goodness. Lo and behold, life will give you a situation which will prove the belief right. And then the belief goes, oh no, I am true. And then next to that comes pain of having to accept that reality. And then we don't want to feel the pain. So I would take it so personally because it was triggering my belief, right? Oh my God, I'm unlovable. And now this guy's proven it because he loved me and now he doesn't. So I'm taking his response, his self-preserving response, because this is the thing, we're sat across the kitchen table, right? And whatever I've said or however I've behaved, whatever it was, has made this person, their nervous system, feel like I'm a lion. And how do they know how to protect? Boom, shut off empathy. It's just self-preservation. It's okay, so I'll look after myself here. This person's attacking me. It's the nervous system. It's not even, and now this person here is like, I'm not attacking you. But it hurts when that person's given love and then we're expecting that love to always be there. And I know, I've been on both sides of this, because now I'm on the other side where someone's like, why don't you extend compassion to me? And I'm like, I'm self-preserving. And she said, it's like you don't care. And it's like, it's got nothing to do with that. I just feel I need to defend myself, my nervous system. It's beyond words, a lot of this going on. So let's bring it home. Ruptures in codependent relationships. The thing about codependent relationships, right, is I'm entering them unconsciously. I'm clearly benefiting off it some way, and I'm clearly not benefiting of it in other ways. And now I'm aware, now I'm through my second rupture of codependent friendship. I don't want to do this again. So I need to really examine how I'm benefiting out of this. And I wonder, the irony of this whole thing, because my understanding of this rupture is I'm being made out to be the enemy, as if I'm intentionally trying to hurt my friend. And that's crazy. And that touches on my identity, right? Of that I'm a good friend. I've had this before. I'm a good friend. So when somebody challenges me and says, "You're not a good friend, you want to destroy me," I'm like, oh, that touches my pride, because I consider myself a good friend. I don't consider myself a perfect person. And I will make mistakes and I will say stuff that hurts people sometimes. It's not intentional. I lost my train of thought. I've been going round and round and round with this, I think like it's a real golden thing. I think codependent relationships are unhealthy for both sides. And I think it's natural when one or both have evolved out. You know what I think we do in codependent relationships, and this is all over the place, so I hope you're with me, but we somehow enable the insecurity in the other. I think if we bond with a certain wound or insecurity, and then one or both are healing out of that, and they're deciding to behave differently and act differently and say different things, you're no longer going to enable that other person's insecurity, which is what you always did for that person, right? And I really believe this on both sides, because I started this early. I feel like I'm being made out to be the narcissistic one, I think like those of us who have the tendency to be more avoidant get labeled much quicker to be narcissistic. And I get that. Narcissism, we all have narcissistic traits. It's about protecting our ego identity and defending it. And so we all have that, to various degrees. And really, just think about it. When you were young, there was some way you learned to manipulate the caregivers. There was some way you learned you could dominate them. And if it worked, that just continues in adulthood, unconsciously. You have this skill to manipulate to get a certain need met. In some households, maybe in the same one, there were other ways where you could not manipulate your parents. You could not dominate them. It was their way or the highway. And so there we learn to submit, to be more passive to the people. And that's where we're more vulnerable to being manipulated by others. And so we got to take a good, hard, long look at our childhood and be honest with ourselves and where we've learned we can manipulate people to get our needs met, and the strategies that we use to do that. And areas where we're more vulnerable to manipulation in others, where we give up ourselves. Good to know, because right now I'm being blamed for taking. But when you're on this side of the scales, it's like, I didn't ask you to. That's what we say. Well, I didn't ask you to. And when you're the other person, you're like, I gave you all this. I gave you all of this, and I gave you this, and I didn't even want to give you this, and I gave you this. And they feel wronged. But what are we doing when we give, really? If it comes from a family dynamic where we could only get our needs met by dishonoring or betraying our own boundaries, there's some part of us, there's some motivation, right, which is like, if I keep giving, then they'll know to give back to me. Then they can give it back to me. Because what are we actually giving? What we needed. Ugh. It's all over the place, this. I've been trying to make a video for a few days and it keeps coming out all over the shop, and I'm just going to have to upload this and hopefully it's enough. I'm sure there's things I haven't said. I'm sure there's things I would change after listening to this back. This is currently where I'm at in the process. Individuating, trying not to take any of it personally. Trying to figure out my part in this so I don't create another codependent friendship. Yeah. Anyway, there's always a silver lining, and I can see the horizon, and maybe this is just going to make certain changes in my life that I really need. I believe that. When you walk through a storm, hold your head up high And don't be afraid of the dark. At the end of the storm, there's a golden sky and the sweet melody of the lark. Walk on through the rain, walk on through the wind, though your dreams be something and blown. You're welcome. That song's holding me through, guys. That song's keeping me through. I missed an audition once because of that song. So me and singing, sometimes some songs I can sing and I'm surprised about my voice, and other songs I sing and I sound like a 12-year-old boy, and I don't know what that's about. And that song happens to be one, for whatever reason, I don't know if it's the wrong pitch. I don't know what it is. Anyway, my high school were putting on a musical and I thought, great. I was a theatre kid and I went, and that was the song for the audition, and I flunked it. And I didn't get a part in the musical, and so be it, you know. All right, guys, thank you very much for watching. I really hope you're well. Like the video if you liked it. Let us know your thoughts down below. Hit subscribe if you're completely new and you like this content. We'll see you in the next video. Otherwise, have a beautiful day. Have a beautiful life. We've got this.